Radio Hour podcast. I am the host, the tour guide, the maitre d' of this little excursion through local music here in the central Susquehanna Valleys, Michael Lundy, and we are sitting down today with the one, the only, the Urie Kline, one of the premier percussionists here in the central Susquehanna Valleys, and we're going to talk about his life, his love of percussion, his teaching of percussion at Lycoming College, his various projects, and he's going to demonstrate some percussion from around the world. And we're going to feature some tracks that Urie is playing on from Fleming and Flannery and the Cadillac Cats. And we're going to kick off things with one of my favorite tracks from Fleming and Flannery featuring the Urie Kline on percussion. This is Someday My Lunch Will Come from their album Friends of the Valley on the Rec Room Radio Hour Podcast. This episode of the Rec Room Radio Hour podcast has been a long time coming. This one has we've planned this a couple times, and it's only because Urie Kline is so dang busy. He is, and I've said this before, not only on the air but also just in talking to folks. There are drummers out there and percussionists who keep a beat, and they're a metronome, and that's what they do. And there are percussionists and drummers who play the drums. They actively they are a part of the song. They're not just keeping the beat. And I don't know how we may be able to flesh this out a little bit more with Urie, but Urie is one of those drummers who plays the drums. And we are fortunate in this area to have at least 2 or 3 people in this area who play the drums. I defy another area of this size to have that. So he's busy, he's talented, and he is a generally nice person. We are talking about Urie Kline. Urie, welcome to the Rec Room Radio Hour podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, long time coming though.
Yeah, absolutely, it has been.
Yeah. We started setting this up. Oh gosh, I think at the beginning. Well, when we sat down with the Cadillac Cats, I think we had talked about it. So that's it's at least 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah. So thanks for carving out some time in your busy schedule.
Happy to. If I had known you were going to be so I don't know, such a big booster of mine, I would have tried to make room earlier.
Well, I have always. Well, I think for our music project, Prairie Dog, but you were always our first call percussionist. If Dave can't make it, but you're usually busy. I don't think you've ever sat in with us, but
that's true.
You're a generally nice person, and
generally, yes,
generally, yeah,
most of the time,
But I have said that about you. I think since we first met, maybe even before that you are one of the few drummer. You're a drummer who plays the drums. I don't like this competition stuff. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember. I think the first time we met was down in Lewisburg when Becky Blue put on this fundraiser for dogs or something.
Could have been.
Yeah, and you were doing the Lyco Tyco, the percussion thing, and so I think that was the first time that we met, and that was. I don't even want to know when that was. It was like 2016.
2016 is one of those. It was either that. I was going to guess maybe the Q Brew might have been how we first connected, but
may have been.
It's certainly one of those things.
Oh, that's right. When they used to have the little music mashups down there.
Yeah, they used to have like a Christmas party, and that was, I think, it was sort of a gathering of people, especially in that neck of the woods. And,
So I guess the reason I want to kind of flesh this out a little bit is because I'm not just like coming across you like 5 months ago and was like, oh yeah, he's a really great guy. I've known you for a while. So as I said, you're busy with doing a lot of things, but we'll talk about those. But let's set the Wayback Machine to when you were born. Where were you born? Where you grew up?
Well, it was Evangelical Hospital, July 4th, 1989.
You're born on the 4th of July?
I am a 4th of July baby.
No kidding. Yep. I didn't know that.
Not making that up.
Wow.
Yeah, just by like 7 minutes, I think. It was pretty close.
Oh, wow.
Almost July 5th, no one cares kind of situation, but nope, I just barely made it. But yeah, I grew up in central Pennsylvania. I mean, I grew up first on a farm just outside of Beavertown. For those of you who know where that is, my gosh. Yeah. And then moved to Muncie when I was, I think, 10 or 11, something like that.
Okay.
So I've always sort of been a local central PA product.
Yeah. Now, mom and dad, musicians, were they music?
Not so much the Kline family, my dad's side, not so musical. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I have some cousins who've done the rock band thing, but my mom is the one who has the musical sort of pedigree or lineage. She herself played piano and violin a little bit, and her parents did as well. Mm-hmm. So that side of the family, I think, is where, if it's genetic, that's where it comes from.
Okay. Did you start out on the drums? Did you start playing the drums, or did you start on another instrument?
I did not. I had a very circuitous journey to drums and percussion. I started really in, I think my first formal sort of musical experience was in a choir at the church we were going to at the time. Mm-hmm. And then that happened that the choir director was also a piano teacher and a really brilliant, keyboardist himself. John Ravert. And so I was taking lessons from him because funnily enough, the person I was sort of idolizing at the time musically was Elton John, if you can picture that at all.
No,
like that's kind of who like 10-year-old Urie sort of was like, ooh, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
You know, he wears the fancy clothes and all. But so piano, at a certain point, I wanted to join the band and become a little bit more social, you know, at public school. And they didn't really need a piano player, right? So that got me into the percussion section because being able to play the piano, I was able to read music. And so timpani and, you know, things like marimba, they were easy for me to kind of jump into. And then it just became sort of like the total concert percussion, like orchestral percussion experience. And that also led to jazz band and all these things. You know, I was, you know, not especially good, I don't think, at any of them, but, you know, it was something that's how I got my start at Muncie's, you know, public music program.
Okay. Did you, so do you still play piano? Do you still play keyboard?
Not so much.
Really?
I would love to get back into it someday, but it hasn't been like a high priority for quite a while.
Yeah. Is it like riding a bike though, do you think? Do you think you'll be able to pick it up pretty quick? Or?
I mean, I would say you'd have to ask John for more feedback, but I would say I was never especially good at piano. I didn't get especially far. So in that sense, I don't think it's hard for me to kind of recapture where I was, but that kind of cuts both ways.
Yeah. Now, so did you play in like you said you played in the band in high school and the choir and all that. Did you play in bands like garage bands or bands outside of school?
Not really. I think a couple friends of mine in high school had tried to do that. We were trying to do some Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that, but that was like a disaster. It was a very typical, like, you know, high school garage band situation. Like, it did not go anywhere. So I didn't really get into, funnily enough, I didn't get into like cover band situations until I moved back here in about 2015. I had gone on to college and lived in Hawaii for a spell. And it was only after, I know people make that exact same face, but like mostly, I mean, the thing, most people did not say, "Oh, welcome back." They were like, "Why are you back here? Like, whatever inspired you to leave and come back to Pennsylvania in the winter?" You know.
But the thing about Hawaii that people don't realize that if you live there, you can only drive so far till you have to turn. You know, it's an island. The other thing is everything is imported.
Yes,
except macadamia nuts and. What's the other thing? Koa wood. Yeah. Oh, everything else is imported. Yeah, which means that it is expensive to live there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and now you can get used to the climate.
Yeah. But, and I did. That part was not a struggle. Yeah. Yeah. And it was when I got there, you know, I made fun of people for thinking it was cold at, you know, mid 60s. But then, well, you know, you laugh, but a year later, it got to the mid 60s at one point, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's kind of cold here." Like, my blood thinned too.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I didn't start playing in like rock bands and cover bands until I came back here and decided to like try to ingratiate myself into the music community of Williamsport, the greater area.
So let's back up though. So high school, you're in the band, you're in the high school band, and then you graduate. Did you go immediately to college? Did you take what do they call it, a gap year? And,
no.
You know, just kind of hang out and tour Europe or anything?
No gap year between high school and college. There's been a 10-year gap year between undergrad and graduate school.
Okay. So where did you go to college? Where did you go to undergrad?
Well, that actually is really that's actually a pretty important like chapter in the story because I went to Pitt. I went to the University of Pittsburgh, the main campus, of course. And they have a couple things going there. It's interesting musically because they're sort of sandwiched between Duquesne and Carnegie Mellon. So those are like powerhouse classical, like conservatory style music programs.
Okay.
Fantastic. But Pitt has some other specializations, I think, kind of growing out of the fact that they can't, you know, perhaps duplicate what those places do. And that was the ethnomusicology program, which is like the study of non-Western musics, and doing that in a way that was very hands-on. So they have multiple ensembles like African drumming, gamelan, which is like a style of percussion, mainly percussion, I should say, from Indonesia. So I got all these different, that's where I first started playing taiko. I was in a college affiliated group that soon became a community group. So that shaped a lot of my sort of world music leanings.
Okay.
And, you know, also just doing the drumline, the school marching band, you know, at a Division I sort of level, even though Pitt, you know, if you follow football, you sort of know what the quality is there and how it accordions year to year. Sometimes by a lot. But still, it was a D1 school. There's ESPN exposure, and so it's pretty wild to play in large stadiums like that. But that was, from that side of things in marching band all the way through like doing the world drumming thing. That was a really formative experience for me being there.
So you've played you've played stadiums even in college then.
Yeah. I mean, I could kind of, how people like get creative with their bios. I could say that I've played to packed stadiums because technically, what is it called? Heinz Field. I played to packed, standing capacity like Heinz Field. Now they were maybe not there for me.
Doesn't
specifically,
matter.
Yeah, but no one has to know that
because you have just spoken the truth. I have played, for X number of people at Heinz Stadium.
Right.
Leave it there.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Use that. So this was undergrad. What was your major in?
Well, actually, this is something I always have to explain to people. I actually didn't major in music.
Mm-hmm.
Music to me was always something that I sort of did. And I didn't really think of it.
Oh, interesting.
There were moments where I thought, I should be a band director. But for the most part, music was not like a career option.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just something I did because I liked it socially and I personally enjoyed it,
Yeah.
But I was thinking, it might not be the best career move. But of course, I was also doing history and anthropology. So I guess I wasn't like being super scientific with my discrimination there of what I should pursue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I've sort of slowly music just kept boomeranging back. So every time I would be like, it's not really what I want to focus on or what I want to make my primary,
You want something to fall back on like anthropology, right?
Of course, a very, very solid, secure choice.
Well, of course. Yeah. So I'm assuming that your graduate degree is not in music then.
Oh yeah. Well, there is no graduate degree. That was my earlier joke was that it's like 10 years and counting. Because at first I wanted to take some time off and, decompress from undergrad, and then that just turned into like not going to grad school at all.
Oh, okay. All right. I misunderstood because you said there was a 10-year gap between undergrad and grad. But you've done the graduate, you've got at least a master's, if not a doctorate in music. I mean, I've seen you play.
Yeah, right. Road miles,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you graduated from Pitt, is what you said. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you after Pitt? Because you said, go ahead.
Yeah, after Pitt, I picked up where you were kind of steering the ship. I was applying for this program to go to Indonesia, actually, to study drumming and percussion there. But I didn't get in. And at the same time, kind of as like a backup plan, there was a teaching fellowship that they do in Hawaii. There's a school run by a gentleman named Kenny Endo, who's really internationally renowned. I mean, I don't know if he's the first American, but he's like sort of one of very few Americans who's gone over and gotten their natori, their Japanese like kabuki stage name, studied long and hard to become a professional classical Japanese, like traditional Japanese musician. So I studied taiko with him for a couple years there. When I was living in Honolulu. So I moved to Hawaii and sort of did that. I was playing at some points. I was playing taiko, 4 or 5 times a week, depending on, and including gigs too. So it wasn't just like helping out in the dojo and helping assist classes, or at the very end, starting to teach beginner classes myself, which is again a very valuable experience. I was playing quite a bit there.
Wow,
including the unsavory parts, I think that was really my first, because when you're in a marching band, like a professional one or one that's supported by the school, the moving is taken care of by everyone else. Like there's a logistics team. There's no logistics team when you're just a small school for like taiko, Japanese folk music.
Yeah.
So I had to, move everything ourselves. And that was a pretty rude awakening in terms of the gig life where you have to move back and forth.
I want to go back though for 2 points.
Sure.
Let's go back to college just for a minute. So you had roadies.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That was a whole thing. I mean, some of the students did that. They were like some of the fraternities specialized in that. They were like logistics people, but there were also volunteers and people who had, were alumni and stuck around. They would help with that.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I mean, you just went and there would be a spot where all the cases are, and you just pop things open, and then you're ready to go, and then just repeat the thing at the end of the day.
Wow.
So.
I mean, but I can see that, from the logistics
at that level. I mean, if you're a smaller school, I think it's a little bit more, everyone does everything, but there, it definitely gets pretty specialized.
I mean, I was being facetious, but I mean, but that's interesting. I never crossed my mind that you would need that kind of logistics setup for college level marching band.
You get 150 people, 200 people plus, depending on the size of the school, and you're considering all of their equipment. It gets to be pretty daunting after a while. So
now this is a serious question about college.
Okay.
So you were not a music major.
Correct.
And you graduated with your bachelor's degree in a non-music endeavor.
Absolutely.
Okay. What happened during college that, because you left college, went to Hawaii, and were learning taiko or learning percussion. What happened in college to kind of set you on that path?
I don't know. I think it was doing some of those things and, really discovering the joy. Because up until then, I had always been doing very normal American things, right? So I had been, studying drum set a little bit, doing sort of orchestral percussion, as well as marching band. So all things.
So traditional Western percussion.
Things that would be very traditional. You grow up in any public school. That's kind of the things you'll be studying as a percussionist, right? Okay. The exact same things that Steve Gadd studied, right? Like that's in all the great drummers, Yeah. And so it was, I think for me, if I can pinpoint any moment, it was probably doing, those various things like discovering taiko and getting some hands-on experience, doing the Indonesian music, and also having those concerts come through because, there would be performing artists and guest artists. Most gamelan groups, they'll bring in guest artists from Java and Bali to play and dance with the groups to kind of supplement, all the rookies who are trying to learn this really foreign music to them. Yeah. So I think being in, Pittsburgh has really come a long way in terms of being, I think, a very international city, as opposed to like a very regional PA, kind of mid-Atlantic city.
It's not a steel town anymore.
No. Yeah. And definitely has like consciously tried to rebrand itself away from that, beyond sort of the nostalgia.
Right.
And so just the opportunity to be exposed to all of that coming from a place like Muncie, for those of you who are local listeners, you can tell what the difference in, the difference would be. So I think that really kind of set that fire ablaze. And it, like any fire, it's kind of like gotten, it's waxed and waned at different points. Particularly like when, you have a really crushing like gig. Like we did a gig, it was a New Year's thing in Hawaii. We went out to a more remote part of the rock and like took the drums up a hill and like played on the beach and then like took them back, that you could see the sunrise, stuff like that where you're like, ooh, I really don't want to be doing this anymore. But
because you lost the roadies, right?
Right.
You lost those.
Roadie and musician became one.
Yes. So, know that.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because my mental picture of this once, because I knew you went to college, but I thought, music major. I thought it was like music, and so that's interesting. I did not know that. So you're in Hawaii, and you are studying not only just the traditional, cover band percussion, but now you're getting into the non-Western stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, you kind of alluded to that, but kind of.
Yeah. So we've mentioned it a couple of times, probably should have defined it already, but taiko is.
Thank you. That was going to be one of my questions.
Taiko, it actually means a lot of different things. At its simplest, it's just a word that means drum in Japanese. Okay. Really, functionally, it means traditional Japanese drums, like ones you would find there, and ones, of course, that you find throughout East Asia. They're all very similar. They're basically like a couple of varieties. They're either rope tuned, sort of like our snare drums would be, like back in the old days, or they would be tacked on. And that design is found kind of everywhere. Okay. In China, and then Southeast Asia too. You find big drums often have that kind of contour. But in Japan, they're used for a variety of things. There's classical music that will use them. Theater music often uses them, including for sound effects. Like the sound of snow, falling snow, and shutters like rustling in the wind. Like, that's sort of like the Foley effects being done, but they're being done on large, Japanese drums. Wow. The real kind of impetus for a lot of what taiko groups do and taiko performers do is festival music. So different parts of Japan, different cities and different towns and islands all have rhythms and dances that are sort of unique to them because until very recently they were pretty isolated from one another. relatively speaking. And so, they have totally different rhythms, totally different dances, and the drums will be played very differently. Maybe you're standing off to the side of it. Maybe the drum is higher or lower, or it's slanted, and it affects the way you play. But for the most part, they're very large motions. So some taiko are very small, but a lot of them are medium to quite large.
Okay. So visualizing though, this is
the best kind of music to describe for a podcast.
Yeah, really.
All visual.
but I'm actually going to a visual reference. Is it the guy standing by the big drum with the two big mallets like hitting, like, is that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's one style. And actually that's a pretty, the one where the drum is very large and the person is standing in front of it and hitting it sort of directly on. That's a pretty recent innovation. I mean,
oh wow,
that kind of happened in like the temples, which really is where the big drums were housed. But the sort of notion of putting that on a stage and kind of doing it as like a soloistic, virtuosic kind of percussion demonstration, that's pretty recent. That's like the 60s, I think. Started with a group called Onde Koza. Yeah, and the idea to put them in loincloths when they do that, I mean, that was also like some French fashion designer came up with that. I forget his name, but he came up with that idea because he thought it would look really cool. And so, a lot of those, when you see those sorts of kind of folkloric presentations, listeners always have to think that it could easily have been like a decision made on the spot by people living in the 20th century.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Not to ruin the romance or anything, but like to me, that story is almost more interesting than like there's this centuries-old tradition of loincloth drumming.
Yeah. So you said that the large taiko drums were for like their temples.
Pretty much, correct? Yeah.
And then like smaller. So, and I may be going down the wrong rabbit hole. Taiko drums, can we envision them like Western cathedral bells, like, like big calls to, to come to the temple, come to the church, and then the smaller ones are for more like ceremonial? I mean, how does that?
It's sort of. One complicating factor is that Japan also has their own ceremonial bells that are actual bells that are struck that way too. But you're not wrong either, because there are rhythms that are played to announce the beginning of a play. For example, they're played with long sticks. So in taiko playing, the drumsticks are called bachi, which is just Japanese for stick, but they're played with long sticks called nagabachi from nagai, which is the word for long. And that rhythm would be played to announce the beginning of a kabuki play. So that would tell the community, hey, this play is about to start. It could be, an hour beforehand. But so in terms of having a signaling function, there is that.
Okay.
In many cases, the function would be more for accompanying dance, right? Okay. So I would say the medium-sized ones generally would be used for that, because they could be moved out of storage and into the town, and also sometimes moved around. So in Japanese folk belief and, the way they practice Shinto and sort of their mixture of Buddhism and Shinto, they have this notion that taiko are good luck. So playing them and being in the presence of that sound is very fortuitous. So if you go to like the city of Chichibu, they'll actually have a festival in, I think it's the beginning of December normally. And there they have these big carts that move the drums around. So they're actually the different teams within the city, different wards, they have like a little bit of a friendly rivalry where they're trying to like out drum each other. But these carts kind of, snake around the city. And it's the one time a year where they kind of have this like portable shrine idea happening. And other cities like Tokyo has its own version of that. But they use much smaller drums. So you can't quite go by size per se, but yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, there's many, many uses. And it's a really rich field of study. So if you are interested, or anyone interested, I could hook you up with some resources to expand on that idea a little bit.
And we can help out with that as well. First of all, you can tell how kind Urie is because I'm going down this rabbit hole, and it's like, he didn't say, Lundy, you're absolutely wrong. So, he's very kind about it. But we're going to go back to college maybe one more time.
You really like college, I see.
Well, no, because I am fascinated how you went from a non-musical major to, teaching percussion. But does because your bachelor's, your degree is in what?
History. My actual degrees are in history and anthropology.
Okay. Yeah. Does that, and now you're doing world music, world percussion. with all of the history and anthropology that goes along with that. Right. So there's a nice little segue between the two.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. I think that's what the part of also what lit that fire was that there's a field called ethnomusicology, which I mentioned before. Mm-hmm. Very simply put, it's the study of non-Western music. Like that's what it's sort of been in practice.
Right.
And how people have studied it has varied a lot. But one key ingredient is the use of anthropology, or sort of the study of humans, the cultural study of, or the study of culture.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's very important. And that would apply also to, classical music and even our, commercial music, our rock and roll. Like,
right.
There's always a cultural context for what's happening. There's a reason that, the Stones kind of exist the way they do. You have to think about art school in the UK. You have to think about, the blues existing before that. So they have sort of something to build off, all these things. There's all these layers to it. And that story is always really interesting to me. And so I'm not simply content with sort of learning the rudiments of a musical style or the technique. I also want to know where it comes from, why it sounds that way, how it's related to other art forms in neighboring countries or neighboring societies.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe it makes the jump less sort of abrupt seeming.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got it.
Academically,
I'm not very bright, so it took me a while to he said right.
I did. Well, I mean, it's also my academic history, so I should have probably put that together for you too.
No, but it's more fun for me to do it because it helps the audience flesh it out. But it makes perfect sense to me now. It makes perfect sense to me now why you're doing and why you're so good at what you do, but what you're doing now. It makes perfect sense to me. So, okay, so we're in Hawaii, you're playing, you're studying,
right.
Kind of talk a little bit more about that and then how you found yourself back here in this cold climate.
Well, I'll go backwards because, I think we had mentioned before that Hawaii is expensive. Mm-hmm. And so that was pretty much why I came back.
Okay.
One thing that's interesting about, the Taiko Center of the Pacific at that time was that it was sort of structured very traditionally like a Japanese dojo, which is a place of learning, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea is there's sort of a system based on seniority. So your upperclassmen have a responsibility to you to sort of instill, knowledge and values, right? Mm-hmm. And, that was a little bit of an adjustment because, it was somewhat similar to what I had experienced before in, drum lines and groups of musicians before, but to have it like really strictly enforced, because, in a drum line, you could beat someone out who's older than you if you're better.
Okay.
But that was less the case here. So that was something of an adjustment. What I think people will be really shocked to learn is that in dojos, dojo, Japanese, they don't really have plural words, but in Japanese sort of taiko studios, they don't really use music so much in terms of printed music. So it's all part of an oral tradition even now.
Wow.
Some of the more complicated pieces did have either sheet music or something like tablature.
Sure.
But for the most part, like it's all, I point to my head, it's up here.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So being able to recite, and it's we use this with my students too, because it can kind of be overwhelming to read music, especially if you're sort of a neophyte, because, it's a lot of information to process. But if you can just repeat what someone says, so it can not just give the rhythm and the sort of the articulation, but it can also tell you the volume. So a great example would be Japanese traditional music uses a system of, it's not quite solfege, but it's analogous to that, right? So, the way you say it is kind of the way you play it. If you go like down, 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 ga, ga, if you say it kind of weak like that, then that will be the end result. So, but if you say it with some gusto, then your playing should match. Don, 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 ga, 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 don, 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 don. Right, it should match.
Okay,
and you can also teach them. Okay, we have some sections that are dynamic, right? So like don, 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 don. Right, you can communicate dynamics, and it's pretty. I would say it's pretty elegant. It's a pretty elegant system once you get your head around it a little bit.
Yeah. So when I hear dojo, when I hear some of the kind of the dynamics of this, and if I'm wrong, just say, nah, you're wrong. It sounds almost like, like jujitsu, like the, with the karate classes and that, where it's very disciplined, very structured, but it's all, it's all oral and it's all demonstrative. And
it's really interesting because I had, I would call Kenny Endo my sensei, especially during that period. But it was weird to have like the sort of the guy at the top of the pyramid be someone who had like grown up in LA or as an adult, like in the 70s, so he had all these influences. He actually jammed with Santana, stuff like, so, it was an odd mixture of martial arts and music. So it's like, if you look at a pie chart, Taiko in particular is kind of a mixture of music, right? That side of it. Also dance because of the visual element and the choreography, and also martial arts. It's got all those things, so there's a lot of, even, when you play Taiko, you want to play from your core. It's not, you're not really just using your wrist so much, like you would if you're playing other drums in other places. It's, conceptually, at least, you're playing from your tanden or your hara, your center. Okay. And so that kind of idea of being in a stance, being centered. Kata uses words that, you would find in other Japanese martial arts. It's pretty interesting how there's a lot of overlap like that.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So once again, you're being very, very kind to me, because wait a minute. It sounds like, so you're in Hawaii, you're studying, and it's expensive. So you're back here in Williamsport. What time frame are we looking at? When did you come back here?
That would have been around, it was sometime in December of 2014 that I came back.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So, and then that was, really when I started playing, really getting into drum set for honestly the first time. I had studied it privately for a little bit. I had been doing it off and on, but this was when I really kind of committed to it, mainly because I knew that's where the gigs would be around here. Yeah. And I'm pretty lucky. I get a decent number of other kinds of percussion things to do, but drum set is definitely like, if you look at the things I'm in, it's what I play most of the time. So
now you've referred to it a couple times as drum set. Is that, and again, if I'm wrong, tell me, is that to like differentiate, the Western drums, the drum kit that we're accustomed to seeing against, the traditional world drumming? Because you've said drum set a couple times. Yeah. So,
you can play almost anything on a drum set. It's a really versatile instrument, and really it's a set of instruments, kind of played as one. But you can do almost anything on it, especially if you're, kind of know your way around it a little bit. But for the most part, drum set is usually, there's a funny thing that happens when you talk about like band lineups, because if you look, at band pages or, programs, a lot of times it will say, so-and-so on drum set, and then someone on percussion. Drum set, technically, if you think about it, this is where the nomenclature, we could talk about this with world music and world drumming too, but like the nomenclature gets a little funny because it's like, drum set is part of percussion. Like, teaching percussion, you should have, drum set's kind of non-negotiable. You really need to have some facility on the kit to, I think, consider yourself a percussionist, really. Okay. But, most of the time, drum set is sort of considered one specialized job, and then percussion, like, sort of in the sort of funk jam band kind of setup, like, you're playing congas and timbales, and you're sort of like adding those colors on top of or around or next to a drum set. You listen to the Tedeschi Trucks band or whatever, and you hear those different textures. Like, they're different jobs there. Yeah. And that's true in a lot of like pop settings. Okay. All
right. So you come back, you're kind of focused on the drum set. Did you jump right into it? Who did you play with first? Who?
Oh man, a band. Oh my gosh, these people are all sort of in different places now. But I was really fortunate to connect with a very talented group. Didn't play a whole lot. We should have played more, but it was called the Power Lines. Okay. It was sort of one of those things again where it never really we had a couple gigs here and there, but guys like Dan Montville, you may know. Yeah. Seth Forsman. Oh gosh, now by omission, I'm going to feel like such a jerk. The Teichers, Christy and Rob Teicher. Okay. They were all part of that. Matt, I forget Matt's last name. Sorry, bud. And Justin Orand. Rest in peace. He was part of that for a hot minute too. Yeah. So that was a really fun cover band. They picked interesting stuff. It was everything from like Ray LaMontagne to, the Stones and the Dead. So it was a pretty eclectic mix. And
cool.
I think everybody had really different interests, which made it interesting and fun for me. And they would challenge me. So I would play like something kind of very James Brown-esque for like Shakedown Street, for example. And they were like, whoa, hey, that's, if you listen to the actual song, it's something different.
Yeah.
It like simpler. So play it simpler.
Oh, okay.
That was my, sort of wake up call for doing that. So playing the song, not feeding my own ego.
No, because okay. All right. So power line, because we're going to get back to this whole, you play the drums. I mean,
I try to.
Yeah. Well, no. So 2014 power line, and then from there, where?
I think later that year or early next year, I was playing with the Cadillac Cats, which was a very different band back then.
Okay.
Becky Blue was in it. Stacia Abernathy. Right. That was a 2 vocalist lineup.
Oh, I didn't know Stacia was in the Cadillac Cats. She was in that
way back in the day. We did some stuff together for a couple years. Scott Myers was in that. It was, a lot of people have been in this band.
So
Dave Thompson.
But you've been in it since day one.
I don't think that's true. I think Blair formed it Blair Mitchell Tree. I think he formed it long before I was around.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I was in there pretty early. Like I'm right behind him in senior. Well, got it. For what that matters, in terms of length of stay, I'm right behind him.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, and I didn't know this, is like the Cadillac Cats is the Fleetwood Mac of local music. They've been around forever, but
lots of divorce, lots of infighting.
Yeah, a lot of personnel changes. Not all the personal drop, but just personnel changes. I mean, Fleetwood Mac. Yeah, the only two.
Right.
Yeah, the the only 2 constants in that band were Mick Fleetwood and John McVie.
Yeah. So, that's right. That's very true.
Yeah. So you and Blair.
And that's where the similarities end. Everybody. No divorce.
No
writing. No writing like revenge songs while the person's in the control room.
Yeah. No. But I meant just the longevity.
Yes,
I didn't realize that they had, because I knew Becky had, she was in it, but I thought it was her. See, I'm learning all this stuff now. I thought it was like her band. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm tracking now. I got it. Wow, Wow. Yeah. So has that been your kind of your main your main thread through the years is Cadillac Cats?
Kind of, yeah. It's been a really nice fit for me because of the way everyone plays, the way the band has kind of evolved over time. It's very like, we do a lot of stuff that's kind of swingy. Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like my jazz interest has been an asset there, whereas in other, more, higher volume situations that wouldn't really work, but the swing factor actually plays nicely there. Mm-hmm. It's been great. It's a pretty professional outfit in terms of like people show up on time. They're pretty organized, Yeah. And it's a great group.
Yeah. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the Cadillac Cats just because they had their moment in the sun here a few months ago. But because I want to talk more, I want to talk about you.
Yeah. The best member anyway. So,
yeah.
That was a joke.
Everybody. We're not gonna go there. No, they're to a person. Y'all are great people in that band. So,
thank you.
I just saw Blair and Becky Saturday at the Pajama Factory. And chatted with them on the radio show for a little bit.
Yeah, I wish I could have made that. I had a gig or a rehearsal or something. I know it's a huge surprise. Probably.
I know, really. So. What other side projects have you had outside of the Cadillac Cats over the years?
There's been quite a few. One that I've come back around to is this cover band out of Lewisburg called Folk Justice Band.
Yes,
which I think some of the people in that at least.
Yes, and that's right. That's where I think I saw you play the first time.
Oh, maybe.
May have been like on the set, on the drum set was with Folk Justice Band. Now you were in the classic Folk Justice Band with Jeff Schneider and Leo Armbruster. Yeah.
I never played with Leo.
Oh, you never played? No. I've heard people say, it's not really Folk Justice Band unless Leo's.
I mean, I don't know. They could give us kind of a run for the Fleetwood Mac Susquehanna Valley title.
Good point.
Because, it's the same thing. I mean, Gockley's back with the band now, but like...
Yeah, but they only play like, what, twice a year now? The Folk Justice Band?
Yeah, it's a few times, which is nice for me because like I'm pretty busy. I don't know if I could take another band that plays like 30 gigs a year. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that group.
But y'all fill the place when you play though. So
yeah, I got some fans. Lewisburg turns up for people who are Lewisburgies. Yeah. Lewisburgites. I don't know how you say that. But
Lewisburgians. Who knows? People from Lewisburg.
So we're doing that. One thing I'm really excited about is I've been playing percussion, not drum set, with a group called 80s Latin Band. It's Adi Martinez. She is an immigrant to this country from Venezuela, and she runs a really awesome restaurant in State College called Juana's, and she has a dance band. Latin dance band. So it's a really nice mixture of things. It's like some Venezuelan folk music, but also some salsa and, popular stuff like Gloria Estefan, that kind of thing. It's a nice mixture of things, but, I play like congas, and depending on who's available, sometimes they have a different conga player. And I'll play like bongo and sort of the handheld stuff.
Yeah,
but, that's fun. Yeah. And what else do I have? I mean, there's been a couple of things throughout the years. I haven't been doing this much lately, but when Aaron Kelly needs a drummer, sometimes he'll call me. This is the American Idol wonderkind from a few years ago. But he's still out there playing. I don't know who else.
Well, but one of the things that you're doing, I'm saying you have traveled not only like to the blues competitions, but also you've recorded some pretty heady places here.
That's right. Yeah. I should mention Becky. I mean, I've been, it's sort of a revolving door there too, but I've been with Becky on and off, Becky Blue. And that's always been fun. It's always a fun, time playing with her, but a lot of that has involved going to like Fame Studios.
I know.
Back in 2017, and just this past summer we went to Memphis. This was like a year after being there for the IBCs. Yeah. Went down.
IBC being
International Blues Competition.
There you go. Yeah.
Blues Foundation. And it's so wild to be, not to get off on my own tangent, but it's been really wild to like see these guys from like the Netherlands come, and they're like, oh yes, I love John Lee Hooker. Just see these people from all over the world. There's a Korean band that was really phenomenal. Like, just it's insane how like, because you especially in this area, you're sort of somewhat desensitized, I think, to awesome blues musicians. Yeah. And people being like, yeah, this is the shit, and we recognize that. But then you get you see that people care about it outside of our area, and it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, especially from other countries.
Yeah, especially from other countries where, it's like, I would not have guessed Korea would, kind of show up to this event, but there they are.
There they are.
But so I was there in 2022 for the competition, and
now you were there
with the Cadillac Cats.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Yep. See, you're doing great. You're a great clarifier.
Please.
It's that journalistic.
Because I'm not very smart. That's why. I got to make sure I'm understanding.
I don't agree with that. But having been there the year before, it was kind of wild to go back and not really have because that's a little bit of pressure.
Oh, no doubt.
To compete, and so then we were at Sam Phillips. Which was pretty surreal too. Yeah. And actually got to Sun. I forget if Sun's active. I think Sun's more of a museum these days. They might still record there a little bit, but like it was pretty wild to see this like mid-century like recording studio setup. Like, it's no wonder he left there and made Sam Phillips, right? Because it was pretty small, but it was pretty neat to be in both of those places. But
you actually got to record.
We got to record there, yeah.
That is wild.
And that EP, I don't think the full EP is out, but the first song, "Heart of Stone," is out, so you can check that out on Spotify.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna tee it up. I think after the first of the year, we're gonna spin it for Becky.
There you go.
So, I mean, but there's another, looking, and I think you alluded to it earlier, the history of American, like blues in that is, I mean, obviously they've written books about that. So from an what's the right word here?
Anthropologically speaking?
Anthropologically speaking, I mean, that's got to,
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And then going into, these iconic, storied studios.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. So, are you going back down? Is Becky going to take you guys?
I think
back
she
down
is.
there?
I think it's just going to be her and Aaron. Which they're, if you don't know, they're sort of like the main sort of songwriting core of that band. Yeah. And I don't know. I consider myself like a hired gun for the most part. I mean, even in the Cadillac Cats, like if I can't make a gig, they'll find someone else. I'm not that irreplaceable.
Right.
So
now, do you consider yourself a hired gun or a journeyman? Or is there a differentiation between the two in your mind?
To me, journeyman would imply, unless I'm getting the word wrong, that I'm like studying with someone or like apprenticing.
Oh no, I mean like you're kind of like, you'll kind of play with anybody.
That's in that sense, then yes. Okay. I like the term hired gun. Maybe I should get away from that, but
I like journeyman. It sounds there's cooler. A little bit of romance to journeyman. Yeah. I'm a journeyman drummer.
Pretty much. I mean, if you call me, I'll work with you unless you're
you won't,
really
because
impossible.
You're busy. Because we called you a couple times when Dave couldn't make it. I'm just kidding. You are busy. We're gonna we are doing this interview, and I should have teed this up with us. This is our first podcast interview that we have done in a center of higher education. We have done them in gardens. We've done them in coffee shops. We have done them we've done them in my basement studio at home. But this is the first one we've done in a college. So what are we doing here at Lycoming College?
We're doing this podcast.
Well, that's true. But I mean, what brings us here? What brings you here? Why did I have to come to Lycoming College to interview you?
Because it was, safer bet than my apartment. I don't know.
No. What do you do here?
I'm
trying. Work with me, Urie, please.
Now I'm being difficult because it's fun. No, I am an adjunct instructor here at Lycoming College. I'm one of many. I mean, there's quite a few of us. But I do something really interesting here that's a little off the beaten path. It's called the World Drumming Lab, which is a class that I designed and teach, and it kind of pulls in those things that we were talking about earlier. And it's a survey course. So the students are not probably going to go on to become, professional drummers, but they get a little, just like you would in a world literature class, right? Or something, world art, whatever. Same idea. It's like, well, let's, have some different representative examples of drumming from around the world. So this year we did, there's a few we'd done. We did Middle Eastern percussion, like, hand percussion. Then we did djembe drumming from West Africa. Wow. And we finished off with taiko, fittingly enough. So, and it changes every year. So some years we'll add in Cuban or Brazilian, Peruvian. We did Balkan music a couple semesters ago. So just depending on, availability and sort of what I'm inspired by at the moment, each semester is a little different. Yeah. But yeah, it's nice. It draws in a lot of students who are not like, it's a pretty robust, as you can tell. I should mention that we're in Honors Hall right now, but next to Honors Hall, those of you not familiar with Lyco's campus, there's a gigantic new building called the Track D Music Center that was built, I think it was finished last September. And it's this gorgeous, state-of-the-art modern music facility. So it's got a nice rehearsal hall and classroom and all that kind of stuff, practice rooms. So there's a pretty big commitment to music here. But I like what's neat about my class is it pulls in a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise be here. So people who are just kind of looking for fine arts distribution, or we're always sort of interested in music, but they find like joining the band perhaps, or the orchestra a little too daunting because, it takes years to get pretty fluent on sort of a lot of orchestral instruments. And the music can be challenging, but this is a nice entryway into that stuff.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, it's not, you're not lecturing. It's not a Socratic lecturing thing. They're actually participating.
This is a subfield. It's sort of a funny word, but it's applied music, meaning that you're, I guess, applying yourself. I don't quite know where that. I don't actually know the etymology of that phrasing. But applied music is like you were saying, hands-on. This is instructional. It's basically like a group lesson, which I think also helps because a private lesson is a little terrifying because you have someone like looking at you and telling you what you're doing wrong all the time. Yeah. But you get to do that in a group in my class. So
and what's your class size generally?
We usually bat somewhere between 5 and 6.
Okay, that's a good.
The lowest it's ever been has been 3, and the biggest has been like 9 or 11, which was almost too big.
I was going to say you wouldn't want to go for something like that. You wouldn't want to go much more than 10 students. So I would think.
I mean 15 is I think where it's capped. But
yeah. And you developed the course and the curriculum, and it's your program.
It pretty much, yeah. A lot of trial and error because I've been doing it since I think 2018.
Okay, I was going to ask you when you started.
I was first hired here just to work with the world music class. So our department chair, Bill Chabatari, he teaches, in addition to the 6,000 other things he does, he also teaches sometimes a survey course on world music. So I would come in and do very much the same thing there, but just for a couple of days, as it kind of fit in with that curriculum. And then we sort of took that concept and made it like a full blown class.
Okay.
So now you can have that experience, and it's funnily enough, it's run every semester, which, has been nice.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, sometimes if no one signed up, and COVID was pretty hard on it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, how would you Zoom that one, right? And also I just sort of didn't want to. So it was fine.
Yeah.
But
but that's how you got the gig was just coming in and kind of doing demonstrating in classes, and then you got the full-time
what's
gig.
really funny is that he was a sub on like a gig for the Repass Band, which is like a local, actually one of the oldest community bands in America.
Right.
But I forget how they define that, but it's got some statistic like that.
I think you're right, but
yeah, I know that's. Yeah. I know, like
don't quote us on that. Yeah. Don't be writing in or sending me Facebook messages like it's wrong about the Repass Band.
Yeah, I know lots of half statistics.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
But we were both I was doing that one summer before I left for Hawaii, and somehow we got on that subject, and because I had him back in high school as like a county band like guest conductor or something when I was in 11th grade or something. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh man, I wish I had known, because we could have you in for this class to do a taiko demonstration. And so years later that turned into this.
Cool.
Somehow I like snuck in here and they let me in here.
Again, that's why I think because you're here and teaching this class, and I knew it was like, it was a full-time adjunct professor.
Well, it's part-time, but.
Well, but I mean, you're, every semester you're teaching a class, correct?
Just about.
Just about, semester, yeah. Yep. So that's why I thought, it's music. I mean, with the Juilliard or something like that.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, wow. So we've talked about your gig here at Lycoming College. We probably won't get the big taiko drums or anything like that, but can we hear a little bit of some of the percussion and stuff that you do here?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Do you want to do that like right now?
No, we're gonna take a break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break, and I don't know. Maybe we'll play a snippet of this. I don't know. There's no script to this, but I think we're gonna come back. Yuri's gonna play and kind of talk about some percussion, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of the stuff he's got coming up. We'll ask the standard questions that we always ask, and kind of let Urie get back to being a professor here. So we'll be right back, and Urie's going to collect all of his percussion stuff. We're going to take a listen to that. So we're here at Lycoming College with Urie Kline. As if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that. And what we're going to have now is just a little demonstration of some of the hand percussion that Urie utilizes in his classes. And because I don't know anything about it, I'm just going to let Urie talk about. We're going to put it, and some of this is very visual. We'll put some of this on our Facebook page, without further ado, Urie Kline here is going to talk about some percussion.
Yeah, so I have, what I'm holding right now is called a darbuka. It actually has several different names depending on the language, but darbuka is the one I sort of go with. We spent some time learning about this semester, and it sounds a little bit like this. Right, so this is it's kind of shaped like a goblet, and it's played with your hands and your fingers. The sort of Middle Eastern playing style is very ornate, so there's a lot of this sort of finger ornamentation, and by ornamentation I mean, so you have the basic notes, right? You've got that going on, but then you also have these extra notes that kind of go in between. Right, so that just sort of fattens the rhythm up a little bit and adds some color and some sauce. Yeah.
So where is this particular instrument from? You had said, I mean, what?
Oh, so it's. I mean, you find it everywhere. The rhythm that I'm playing right now, or the sort of family of rhythms, is from Egypt. This sort of it's a very Egyptian thing. Maksum, baladi. The names can be a little bit variable depending on where you are, but you find this all over North Africa, Southeastern Europe, the Middle East. And you also find it in Indonesia and India too, but it's pretty much anywhere there's people of Arab or Persian descent, or Islam has gone, you could very easily find this. East Africa also has a lot of music.
It has very Middle Eastern kind of sound to it.
Oh right, yeah, like you're in the desert,
Yeah, but so again, whenever I'm with an academic, I run the risk of asking a stupid question. Can you trace the lineage of various instruments from trade routes and I mean part of the archaeology and that?
Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of, yeah, kind of. I mean, you find just sort of the playing of this instrument in parts of Indonesia, right? Where it's Indonesia technically is the world's largest Muslim country, so it's not hard to see how this would have gone from its original home, which was probably Eastern Mediterranean, and it sort of found its way, east along the Silk Road, down into India, down into Indonesia, down into the Indian Ocean coast of Africa, right? So that's this one.
And what's that called again?
Darbuka. It's,
darbuka.
Yep, or tabla, depends on the language.
Okay. I was thinking of there's an Indian percussion that sounds like that, and it's called tabla.
Yep, that's this one right here on the floor.
Aha, there we go.
Yeah, so these are because guess what? Tabla is an Arabic word for drums. So it's in northern India. There's a far more sort of, I'd say, Middle Eastern and Arabic sort of influence.
Okay.
But yeah, these sound a little bit like this, and it's pretty hot in this room, so they might be tuned a little high.
Yeah.
This one could be a little bassier, but yeah, we've experienced that it's a little hot in here. But yeah, it could be a little bit lower, because you want your bass drum to be a little lower so you can get more of the glissandi effect. But right now it doesn't have quite as far to go, but that's, whatever. Excuses, right? So,
that's all right.
So these are, and I'm by no means a fantastic tabla player or anything. I had a couple of years of lessons, but I need about 28 more. These are really well-designed instruments. You have a treble drum on the right, and it's capable of producing lots of different sounds, lots of different pitches. Right? And then sometimes we do this sort of closed application too. right? And you can combine that with.
Wow. So you're essentially, for your left hand, you're essentially snapping your finger down on that.
It's a very interesting technique. The sort of curved finger hits, and it's supposed to. There's ways of drawing out different sorts of sounds, right? So if I just did this, it's a different sound, right? Which is not often done. I mean, you do it sometimes, but right, it's this very like sort of. We're trying to hit with a curved finger because that brings out a little more of the deepness of it.
Got it.
A little bit more of that bass fundamental.
But then you can also bend, kind of bend the skin, as it were.
Yep.
Changing the pitch of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And and I've heard that before in like African talking drums as well, where they kind of bend. So it's different. It's interesting how different cultures, different backgrounds.
Oh, sure.
I don't know, how they approach or how they come to doing the same thing. It's really interesting how they're never articulate here with this. But this is metal then.
Yep.
Both of them are metal.
No, this one's wood. This one's probably like shisham or something.
Okay, so the smaller of the two is wood, and then oh wow.
And originally it would have been made of clay instead of like the what is it, like either aluminum or sort of like copper thing. These are like a student set, so they're a little bit on the cheaper side. But yeah. Originally they were made of clay, and clay apparently for the bass drum was a really sweet sound, but it was pretty fragile. So you often they sort of. But something you said that was really nice, I thought, was how you can see sort of the ingenuity on display, and so instruments are a great way to see like a society's material culture and their craftiness, right? So woodworking and metalworking and. How you can, because there's on these instruments there's multiple layers of skin. There's one layer here, and there's a layer on top. I think there's a layer on the bottom too, and then there's these sort of proprietary black circles, the shiaki. They're added, and each maker's got their secret formula, right? Which means that their proportion of like iron filings and etc. are different, but that that helps to focus the sound so you can get a particular kind of note out of it as opposed to just just a basic sound, because most drums don't have definite pitch, they have indefinite pitch. But we actually have one of those talking drums. Okay. So the difference there is, if I can reach it.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Yep, there we go.
This is a very small one.
Yeah.
But you have, it's pretty loose overall, right? But then when you apply pressure to the strings, it's sort of shaped like the shell of the drum is shaped like an hourglass. When you apply pressure.
Yeah. But now, and the mallet that you're striking it with is curved like the finger. On this.
And that's not an accident. That's
I know.
And generally this should be, in Nigeria the instrument's much bigger. Actually often played in an ensemble where there's like 3 of them, of which this is like the small size. But it would have bells on it. It would be a much more impressive thing, and you'd hear more of the bass out of it for sure. But right, so
But every kid, if they go out and they play a drum or something, they'll do that on their, kids just like playing around with drums will do that. But it's interesting to see how that has been incorporated in the cultural music, though. I mean, that's a wonderful sound.
Yeah, and I wish I knew how to. That's another one I don't really know how to play. Because each language is different, right? Yes. So different parts of Africa, they're even though the creation of, or the design of the tama, or actually what they call it in Senegal or in parts of Nigeria, it's I think dundun. Even though the design of the instrument is pretty similar, the languages are different. So the language that you're recreating when you, like Yoruba, for example, is a tonal language. So the language you recreate is different. I don't speak those languages. So.
Yeah, and I can totally get why you say that the language, because. Correct me if I'm wrong again. If they used, many cultures use drums to communicate.
Sure.
I mean, like
totally.
Just like conventional communication from over long distances. Correct.
Yep. That's very true. And it's some people say that they're not telephones, but I think the idea that you can communicate messages is certainly present, and how much lexical fidelity there is kind of up in the air. But you know that something's up when you hear it, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I just thought it was interesting when you said language. I was like, makes perfect sense.
All right. So, and one more this is something I've been playing around with a lot lately. My pitch has gone way, way up, but yeah, let me see if I can crank that down a little bit. At least it comes with a tuner, so that's nice.
Yeah.
So this is the Irish frame drum, the Baron, the Bowron, however you want to pronounce it. And so it's interesting because this is generically speaking, this is a frame drum, right? Because it's a frame that's been turned into a drum.
When you say frame, you mean the cross frame on the back of the drum?
I mean the hoop itself.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Yep. Gosh, Lundy, keep up.
I know. God,
That's just the first time I actually had an opportunity to berate you a little bit.
Yeah. I know.
Okay, so.
Oh no, feel free.
Feel free. Really high. So frame drums have been around a very long time, and in fact, you could, the first usage of them really would have just been as like a shamanic drum. This is probably one of the first instruments created, and it was used to, kind of combat evil spirits, or used in sort of possession, trance-inducing, medicine. What passed for medicine back in the day, right? Attempts by our most distant ancestors to kind of control a very uncontrollable universe that they were living in.
Right.
So that would have been just very simple, probably playing, but I mean, we don't really know what that music's like, but. But that's really where the instrument design originally came from. And it's sort of, as happens a lot of times, anything that's sacred can easily become secular after a while. And so from there, we'll see what the tuning sounds like after I kind of go around here again.
Now, is this instrument Irish in origin? I mean, is this...
No. I mean, it is and it isn't. The Irish have developed a very particular way of playing it, and honestly, that way of playing is very recent. So, getting much better. So the frame drum kind of went from being that sort of ceremonial drum, and then in parts where urban civilization was beginning to take place, you started hearing more of like. More of this, really the ancestor of that sort of Middle Eastern style of hand drumming with a lot of the finger modulations. And this is sort of a more recent way of playing it that has come out of like percussionists like John Bergamo and Glenn Velez, like this sort of style of playing. But traditionally they would hold it. It would be a little different.
Oh, wow.
Which this shell is pretty deep, so it's kind of hard to do that, but. And if there's still something called zar, like you can find it in the Persian Gulf and places like that, where if you're sick and medicine doesn't seem to be, like modern scientific medicine doesn't seem to be working, you'll get with a group of guys and you'll just kind of play that rhythm a whole bunch, like. And they'll be singing and chanting, and the idea is that sort of sweat lodge mentality will sort of allow you to deal with. Especially, I think, for psychological problems, it's probably very effective. But
yeah. And then
one more pass on this. And so now the real question is, when did the frame drum go to Ireland, and sort of what that journey was like? And that's sort of a question that most people don't agree on. For me, especially when you look at this, sort of bracing in the back, it seems quite obvious that they took a very old instrument design and could have easily crossed, over the water, and that helped, kind of become a part of, sort of like the pre-British musical culture, religious order, and that then, better.
Now you're getting back into that changing the pitch.
Yeah, right. So, but the changing of the pitch, even though it's an idea that's been around for forever, it's a very recent innovation. So the first people to really do that were like Johnny Ringo and Tommy Hayes. So like guys that in Irish trad music are like, you know, first name basis.
Yeah.
Like they're the first ones who really did that, because before you held the wood or the wire bracing in the back and you just played it like this, and whatever sound you had was what you had. And this is very high. It's a traditional bower and there's no taping on it, so rich in overtones, people. So, but the idea of being able to change the pitch, and again, it's a little cranked right now, so it may not change a lot, but
it's interesting how you mute it as well. And
yep,
you can mute it to
you can get different articulations depending on where your hand is. This has sort of been my project lately, is sort of learning this instrument, because I always wanted one, and I only recently came into possession of one. And it's all the playing, for those of you unfamiliar, is all one-handed. It's all a little stick called a tipper or a kipeen in Irish, and you're playing all with one hand. So you have like an up, sort of like, it's very similar, I think, to playing guitar with up and down stroke motion.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, look at that, right? Like,
yeah.
And if you want to play a more syncopated rhythm. Right, more up strumming, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you hit one of my favorites is if you hit the backbone line, the goat, you get this.
Oh, wow.
You get a really nice sort of like harmonic there, which normally sounds a little better, but
yeah, I'm hoping this transfers over
hopefully.
to the recording, but.
Yeah, you can you know, it's nice. I like instruments that have a lot of range. And so we got a couple more. This one is, I'll save the weirdest one for last. This one everyone knows, but most people play wrong. So I mean, one of my goals is, like, when I play these things, to actually sound like, not native. I sort of hate that phrase, but like, you know, I want to sound authentic to the music I'm doing. And so a lot of people will do this with a wiro, you know, sort of like a gourd scraper. They'll go.
So that's how it's pronounced.
Wiro.
Okay.
In most like Caribbean Spanish, you don't pronounce G's.
Okay.
It's like a W sound more so than that. Yeah. Like when they say way, it's Guey or something. But anyway, this is what you don't want to do, and it's the way 99% of gringos play it. Now, to really play it sort of salsified, you do this. The big difference is that you're not changing direction when you play. Down, up, down, which is a little tricky to do, because you sort of have to do.
So you're just striking right at the end point.
Right at the end point, yeah. Or you can catch more of it,
but primarily it's on the up.
Yep. I mean, that's where the sort of the iconic, you know, that's where it comes from.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a really nice attack at the beginning. You sort of have to merge them. I remember when I first started practice, it was very like, and if I don't practice for a while, it can also sound like.
Yes. Very stilted.
Yeah, very disconnected. So instead, you know, that's what you want. And also, with any Cuban handheld percussion, your holding hand is helping. So it's not just that, you know, you're moving around with your dominant hand. Yeah. The other one is sort of helping you.
So it is like guitar.
It's an inverse. A little bit, yeah. There's like an inverse movement. So when your beater goes down, the instrument should go the opposite way, and vice versa when you come up.
Okay.
So that's the wiro, which has been very cutely decorated by the nephews of the guy I got it off of.
Lovely.
And then lastly, not lastly, because here's a taiko instrument. Again, taiko's pretty big, so we're not messing with that. But I have instead this little gong-shaped instrument called an tatarigane. Yeah, you can snap a picture of that for sure. So it's very high in pitch. Some of them get a little bit lower for sure, but it's basically a gong, but it's more like it's like if a gong and a cowbell kind of had a kid. It's used a lot in a style of music from Tokyo called edobayashi. And the rhythm there, again, there's always these rhythmic phrases for things. It's chi-chan, cha-cha, chiki, chi-cha-chan, cha-cha, chiki, chi-chan, cha-cha, chiki, chi-chan, chan, cha-chan. So you got chan is the sort of striking in the middle portion, and then you have chiki on the sides. And in a lot of groups, they'll actually just hold it by a string, and they'll just go like to town on it.
Oh wow, yeah, I can.
And that's for more bombastic. Edobashi is almost like classical taiko playing, whereas when you're playing like big odaiko stuff, you just want like. And 20 minutes later, it's still like, so that's a very high energy version of it.
And that's called what again?
Oh, this is called the Atarigane. Atarigane, if you want to really challenge yourself. Kane or chanchiki for short, just because it's a lot to say, but yeah. And then lastly, we have like one of my favorite instruments, because it's such a weird little thing.
I thought that was a storage box there for a minute.
It can be, yeah. You can store some snacks in here, but this is called a cajita. And it's a Peruvian instrument. So you probably are familiar with the cajon if you've been to a coffee shop or your buddy's acoustic gig. You've seen those, right? The cajita is like a cousin of it. So whereas cajon means big drawer, this is like little box, right? So there's two things that you play. You play the lid, which has a handle on it. So I'm opening and closing this lid. And then you can play on the front or the sides of it. So one of the reasons it's worn is because it's used in a procession in Peru for the Corpus Christi Day. And so you hear just a bunch of people going down the street going like this. And there's a little bit of stuff you can do with it based on, again, how open the lid is and kind of modulating the pitch a little bit. Or, fancy like... I wouldn't say it's the most versatile instrument, but it's certainly there, right?
That's wild. I just looked at the lid. Now, is that a relatively contemporary instrument for? Or is that like?
Contemporary. Probably a couple hundred years old.
Okay.
Or from the really early part of the 20th century.
Okay.
But, yeah, the cajon's only been around since like the 1830s.
Oh,
so
really?
As a contemporary of it, I mean, it may actually have a longer history, but yeah. And a lot of this, the fact that they're playing on boxes and these sort of improvised instruments speaks to two things. So this is Afro-Peruvian stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It speaks to the poverty of, slaves and their descendants in, Latin America, and also, how music was often forbidden. So it kind of paid, so the folklore goes, it paid to have things that looked like cod crates that you could just kind of stash in the corner. Yeah. If the authorities came around, you could be like, oh, those aren't drums. Those aren't musical instruments. They are tools for work that benefits Spain, So
our percussionist in our band, Dave Jackson, who
of course,
everybody's like, I like that guy. He's playing the box. I'm like, no.
Yeah. Now the cajon has a really rich history, and I wish people were a little more, into it. But that's one of the things you can learn if you decide to take the World Drumming Lab. You can learn about, if you're lucky, that semester, you can learn about the history and origin of the cajon.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been cool. I'm hoping this transfers over to the podcast for the audio, but we do have a couple videos we'll put on the Facebook page. And we're going to come back and kind of wrap things up with Urie here on the Rec Room Radio Hour podcast. So again, thank you for the demonstration. It really is fascinating. Everybody think, well, drums, they're all the same. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
But so this is kind of your day gig, your day gig here at Lycoming College, correct?
Sort of. Yeah. It seems weird to call it a day gig. It's just, it's one of many things I do. So,
all right. Well, what do you do? So what do you do besides this little gig here at Lycoming?
There's teaching. There's which is partly here. I also teach a West African drumming class at Bucknell University.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, I'm going to tell you everything.
Yeah,
I like to keep some things close to the vest.
Yeah.
Wow. And I teach privately also at Robert M. Sides.
Okay.
So if your children need drum lessons, if you're an adult, you're welcome to take lessons too. A lot of them are kids, of course. So that's the teaching side of things. And then I also perform with a lot of those aforementioned bands.
Tell us about your jazz trio.
The jazz trio is, it's a trio or a quartet, or we've even gone as high as maybe 7 people.
Oh, wow.
Needs demand. That was for more like a special.
When does it start coming into like a big band? You have to have horns or something?
Yeah, you need. Big bands are fairly set instrumentation-wise. It's like 18 pieces, I think, somewhere in that ballpark.
All right. Do you envision the Urie Kline band getting that big?
Oh, God, no. If I was independently wealthy, then yes, I would love it. But, one of the reasons the big band died is because you had to pay 18 people.
Exactly.
So 7, what happened, with Jump Blues was basically they took big band music and they made it, something that you could play with like 7 people.
Yeah.
And also small jazz, like, the Miles Davis era.
Yeah. So we're trying to be funny here. The Urie Kline trio, the Urie Kline.
Yeah, we play a lot of hard bop and jazz standards, soulful things, some more contemporary music as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you think jazz is like really avant-garde, which it can be certainly, but we try to play it with some soul. So it's like funky, but also engages with jazz in those, musically rich ways.
Yeah.
So I like the sound we've got going. Yeah. So usually it's saxophone and keys and bass and drum set. The lineup can change a little bit. We just had Alicia Suley on with our Malbec gig. And I love the sound of jazz flute. So maybe there'll be more of that coming up, but I just, that's that group, but we'll be okay. And speaking of Taylor, he's got an album coming out. He and Ryan Flannery, they have their Friends of the Valley. I believe it's called LP is coming out, which I'm on a few tracks. So this is not like totally disinterested, but
well, usually we ask this at the end. Do you have a website? Do you have any kind of like, social media or web presence or anything like that?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me, you can find a dedicated page for both the Urie Kline band and also Urie Kline percussionist.
Okay.
Those are both on Facebook. Those would be the best resources to check out.
Okay. We'll link those in the show description as well for this one. Okay. So we have a couple of standard questions that we ask throughout the podcast. The first one is, what is a musical instrument or piece of gear that you would like to get back, that you either lost or sold and you would want to get it back?
Oh, wow.
Gosh. We got them.
I have an answer for this. My Rototoms.
You had Rototoms?
I did. I had them.
Wow.
I forget how. I think I found them at actually, I think I got them from Jack Lawton's vintage drum show thing back when he used to do that. It was like because they were, something I could afford as a high school kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I gave those away when I sold my drum set, which I don't regret doing that. But I think if I had one regret, it's like I kind of want those back.
Yeah. Okay. So for the non-drummer, the non-percussionist out here, what's a rototom?
It's a tom that you roto. So they're actually it's just a drum head, but then there's also this apparatus underneath that allows you to kind of turn it on a thread. Yeah. And it changes the pitch of the drum. So it's really neat. It's very I would say it's sort of a very 80s sound.
Yes.
I feel like guys like Simon Phillips use them a lot. That's sort of like the vibe. Probably hear them on some Phil Collins records.
Yeah.
They're very they almost have that natural reverse gating.
Yes.
Doo,
Yeah, it's kind of
an odd sound.
They used them a lot in. I don't know if that was. They used it a lot during the late 70s and one in the 80s was that kind of that boo, that disco kind of thing.
Yeah. It's got that sort of decay to it. It's a really interesting sound. Yeah. But I think it would be fun to have those again and just be obnoxious with them. So
yeah, you can overplay those. That's like a wah-wah pedal for a guitar. You can overplay it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one thing we didn't ask when we were talking about early days is what was your first instrument, your first drum set, I guess? Or
my first drum set. I don't even remember what my first. I remember the only thing that was cool about it was not to get into this story too much, but my uncle and my mother, they were. I think it's fair to say they were pretty estranged, but I bought my first drum set off of him. So that was a neat way we connected. And again, that's sort of a difficult, interpersonal thing, but
sure.
he, I forget, the sad thing is I sort of forget what model they were.
I was going to ask
I remember there was a Ludwig like Speed King. I remember that, but that was the bass pedal. But outside of that, I totally forget what the year was.
Yeah. And I already know the answer to this, but it's going to be fun to talk about this again. Who's kind of your wheelhouse, your percussionist that you kind of, I don't know. I don't like to use your hero because it just implies a lot of things. But who's the percussionist, the drummer, whatever that you lean on? It doesn't have to be somebody that we would know. But
wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, I think I have. Well, the difficulty for me is I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the name Steve Gadd comes up quite a bit.
Yeah. And I knew that was the answer.
You sure did. Yeah. Because I dropped him a little earlier. Yeah. I mean, he's just incredible.
Yeah. And he played on everything in the 70s
sure sounded
and 80s.
like it. Sure felt like it. Yeah.
I mean, everything from Paul McCartney to Paul Simon to
totally.
I think he was on Michael Jackson's.
Yeah.
May have been. I don't know.
He did some stuff with Steely Dan, of course.
Yes, he did.
Asia, I mean, is sort of the iconic one.
Yeah.
I think, and what's really funny to me is like, I think he's on Soak Up the Sun. I'm pretty sure that's him. And this would have been like circa 2000 or 99 or something, which I think is really funny. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's him.
Oh, wow.
When I'm listening, he's one of the few drummers I can kind of hear if I'm listening. And it's like, just there's a certain way he lays in that, but, in terms of like percussion heroes, I mean, in terms of someone who can do a lot of things, a guy that isn't as well known, Bill Summers, the guy with the Headhunters, Herbie Hancock, on Chameleon, and that album, and then the follow-up, which was, I think, Thrust was the name of that album.
Okay.
Like, so that lineup, Bill Summers is a great, I mean, everything he plays, it feels pretty genuine, And he has a lot of eclectic instruments, kind of like me, so I sort of take after him that way.
Yeah. And if you throw out a name that we may not recognize, it just means that we have to go research them.
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, I'm not worried about that, but
well, I mean, some people are. It's like, oh, you don't know about.
Yeah, I'm going to judge you harshly, but
I know that.
Yeah,
I know that. I knew that coming in. So no, actually, I did. The other question we ask is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
Oh. I mean, I can talk about almost any subject, so that's a scary way to go. But
I know that's almost like I'm opening the door here for
there,
but anything that you wanted to cover that we didn't cover, I guess, is more well, if you think about it, we can do a part 2. We've done 2-part podcasts in the past. This has been fun. I've learned a lot, and that's one of the cool things about doing this gig is that I get to learn a lot about people that I know here in the area and that I admire. And I really admire you as a percussionist and a drummer. Not as much as I admire Dave Jackson, but pretty close.
Sure.
No,
that's fair.
I'm just kidding.
I don't make coffee as well as him, so that's
that's true. You don't.
I'll always be behind there.
Yeah, sorry. But that's okay. Getting to know a little bit more about you and just, it's like, wow, I didn't know that about Urie. This has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for not only, sitting down, chat with us, but, for being a friend and the support that you give, to not only me personally, but to the radio show and that. So, any last words, Urie?
Nah, just, be nice to each other and, be a good neighbor and all that sort of boilerplate, touchy-feely good advice.
Well, you are a good person and a nice person in spades. So with that, we're going to play out with you want to play out with a Taylor Fleming song that you're on?
Absolutely. I I don't know which one we're going to use. Like we're really pulling the curtain back on a lot of this.
Yeah, we are, because there's no script. Well, that people that listen to this, and I think that we do have a couple listeners that have listened to like every episode of the podcast. Yeah, I know.
Do they get a special like?
Well, they know who
award,
they are. They know who they are. So, but there's no script. Yeah. So we're gonna play out with a song off of Taylor Fleming's upcoming album.
Yes, that's right.
And you're on it. We don't know what it is.
No idea.
On the outro, I will say what it is, because by the time I get this mixed and finished up, I'll know what the song is. Urie, thank you so much for hanging out with us here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. And so we're going to play out with Urie Kline and Taylor Fleming here on the Rec Room Radio Hour podcast.
everybody. That was Jim off of Fleming Flannery's album Friends of the Valley, featuring our guest for today's podcast, Urie Kline. It was great to not only sit down and chat with him and get to know him a little bit better, but also to learn a little bit about percussion from around the world and how Urie is bringing that global perspective to music right here to the Central Susquehanna Valleys. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rec Room Radio Hour podcast. Please go to www.wxpiradio.org to make a little contribution to our radio station so we can keep doing some great things here for local music in the Central Susquehanna Valleys. Thanks again to the Clark McLean Band for the use of their song Phoebe. And this podcast was produced and mixed at Airline Studios in the beautiful town of Cogan Station, Pennsylvania. I am your host, Michael Lundy, asking you to don't fret, stay tuned, and play nice until the next episode. Bye-bye.